I am so excited to talk to Craig Curelop today. Craig, as you know, is famous for his house hacking and for house hacking his way to financial independence. We have been lucky to follow his story over the last 8 years on the podcast. And, okay, this is just me that's lucky getting to work together at BiggerPockets. Craig used to work at BiggerPockets, and then he left us to go on and do bigger and better things. We are going to get into the nitty-gritty of Craig today and his financial journey and how you can recreate his journey too. Craig, thank you so much for joining me today.
Mindy, I've never seen you so excited to talk to me. We need to talk on air more often.
Craig, before we get into your story, I want to talk to the people who are watching this video. If you are looking to house hack your way to financial freedom, the first step is finding a great deal. BiggerPockets has just released a new deal finder tool exclusively for pro members. You'll be able to search for investment properties, create custom buy boxes, analyze a ton of metrics, and more. Go to biggerpockets.com/findadeal, all one word, to learn more. If you're not a pro member yet, you can get access to the Deal Finder, the Market Finder, and other amazing pro tools for $100 off for a limited time with the code FIREDEAL. Now, let's get into Craig's story. Craig, take us back to the beginning of your financial journey. What inspired you to pursue financial independence?
Yeah, so I don't know if I think my story is similar to a lot of people where I was in a job that I absolutely hated. This was before BiggerPockets. And I was working in California for this venture capital type company. And that sounds all sexy. And I was making good money, but I was just slaving my way to making like this money. And I just looked around and was like, wow, the best case scenario here is I climb this corporate ladder and I end up 30 feet down the hallway, miserable, talking smack about my wife and like hating going home to my kids. And I was like, that doesn't feel right to me, because that's what my boss was like. And so I was just trying to figure out a way out of there. And so I essentially Googled, like, how do I retire early, or I can't remember exactly what I Googled, but somehow my buddy ended up giving me the book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And in that book shifted my mindset of like thinking of money on a monthly basis, income and expenses on a monthly basis versus an annual basis, which is just a little bit more digestible. And I was like, wow, all I need to do is get my passive income greater than my expenses, and then I can retire forever. That sounds great. And so real estate sounds like a great path, but I did the squirrely around before I found real estate. I went and tried to do like these random startups and all that, all horrible, horrible ideas, because I was in Silicon Valley at the time. And then one day, we were living in an apartment in San Jose, and our landlord comes and collects the check from us. And I just gave her $2,000, and I can do basic math, and I looked around the remaining of the complex, the other 20 units, and saw that she just collected $40,000 by coming over here. And I was like, whoa, real estate is amazing. Essentially, after I figured out that I wanted to go down the real estate path, I went and I applied to 250 jobs in one weekend. 249 jobs. I was reading Grant Cardone's 10X at the time. So in my head, I was like, I'm going to apply for 25 jobs this weekend. And then I was like, nah, 10X, 250. And so literally my whole weekend was applying for jobs. And almost all of them, literally 249 of them, were jobs that were paying $10 an hour or less as a real estate agent assistant in Florida, because I thought that's where I wanted to move to. And one job that I just so happened to look on the BiggerPockets website, and they were hiring a financial analyst. And so I put my application out into the abyss of a company website, which they'd never get back to you, right? And then a couple days later, I get an email back from Scott Trench saying like, hey, I read your cover letter and it's amazing, and I'd love to bring you in for an interview. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. So, you guys kind of know the story. I interviewed for Scott. Somehow I coerced him and convinced him to give me the job as the finance guy at BiggerPockets. And then I moved to Denver a couple months later.
So is that when you feel like you got your start on the path to financial independence?
That's like a huge inflection point in my life is moving from California to Denver. In California, I was doing like just stupid stuff, like kids out of college too, like get drunk every weekend and, all that kind of stuff. And then when I moved to Denver, I was like, I'm only going to talk to real estate people. All of my friends are going to be in real estate. I'm not going to drink. I'm going to be like a machine. I'm going to work out. Like everything I do is going to like be better towards my future. And I'm going to like bury this old Craig that was getting hammered and all that kind of stuff. And so that was a huge thing. And then within a month or two of moving to Denver, I had closed on my next house hack, or my first house hack. And yeah.
Let's look at that house hack for a minute. How much did it cost you? What was the purchase price? What was your monthly mortgage payment? Because this is several years ago when interest rates were much lower. And what were you generating in income? And more importantly, how? Because that's a fun story.
Yeah. So I bought at the top of the market. Everyone was saying, don't buy, don't buy, don't buy, because it was about to crash. And it was 2017. Prices were back up to where they were in 2008, and they could never, ever go higher than where they were in 2008. And so, I was scared. I was really scared. And to top it off, Scott, actually, a friend and mentor of both of us, he bought a place like 3 blocks down for almost half the price just 3 years earlier. And so I was scared, but I bought this duplex. It was an up-down duplex, pretty much totally redone, and it was for $385,000. 1 bed, 1 bath. Both units were 1 bed, 1 bath. And I bought it. Yeah, I bought it for $385,000. I used an FHA loan, so I put down like $17,000 or something like that. And I lived in the bottom unit and rented out the top unit. And so my mortgage payment on this property ended up being about $2,200 a month, and I was renting the top out for $1,750. Now, I was pretty upset because I wasn't living for free, and that was the goal. That was house hacking. Like there was no subsidized rent in my head. But I remembered back in California, where I was living prior here, that a woman, my San Francisco mom, she was living in the living room behind a curtain with her 2 kids while she rented out a small bedroom to me and the larger master bedroom to another couple. And I was like, if this woman can do it with 2 kids, then I certainly can do it as a single guy. And so I put up a little cardboard box and a curtain behind in my living room, and I rented my bedroom out on Airbnb. And if you looked at the pictures of that Airbnb today, you would probably laugh, because it did well then, but it would not do well now.
So what were you renting your bedroom in your apartment out for?
So of course it goes up and down with Airbnb, but over the course of the year, it averaged about $1,100 a month.
So you were trying to recapture the missing $450 from your $2,200 mortgage payment minus your $1,750 rent for the 1 unit, and you ended up recapturing $1,100. So you're actually getting paid to live in this house. Your mortgage payment is covered, and that $2,200 was principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? That was everything?
Correct. Yeah, the monthly payment. Yep.
Craig, I know your story because we interviewed you at length on episode 35 of the BiggerPockets Money podcast. But I want to talk about how you were viewing your money at the time, because you did have some student loan debt that you weren't aggressively paying off while you were doing this house hack. So you're making an extra, $700 a month. What are you doing with that money?
Yeah, so I was paying my minimum payment on my student loans. I think at the time my balance was around like $86,000 or $90,000 or something like that. And a lot of people were like, pay off your student loans before you buy a house. But it just didn't make sense to me, because I was making, my student loans were maybe 6 or 7%. Honestly, I don't remember the number. It was more than a mortgage though. And my mortgage payment was 3.5%. And so I was like, well, this doesn't make much sense, because I can take this $17,000 I have and invest it at a rate of 100% or more, or I can take it and pay off my student loans. And I would probably be 3 or 4 years behind where I'm at right now if I paid off my student loans first and then house hacked. And that would be definitely like a 6 to 7 figure mistake because of what the market did. I didn't know that at the time, but like now in retrospect, that probably would have been a 6 to 7 figure mistake.
So I have heard the conventional wisdom is pay off your debt, then start investing. Did you have any qualms about just keeping the debt? $86,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but it's also, I've talked to people who have $400,000 in debt. So it's not the most I've ever heard, but it's still a lot, especially given your salary at the time.
Should have been more. No, it was a lot. It was a lot, in all seriousness. I just to me, it wasn't even I didn't even think twice about it. I guess maybe because I didn't have the mentor telling me I should pay off my debt first. I was just like, look, I'm gonna buy a $385,000 thing for $17,000. I'm gonna make, when I move out of this thing, I'm gonna make $1,000 a month on this property. That just in cash flow alone, 12,000 divided by 17,000, that's like a 70-80% cash on cash return right there, not including appreciation, not including loan pay down, not including like all the great things that real estate does. And so I'm just like, the math isn't mathing as to why I would pay off the student loans first. And I just knew that I'd be making more later, and I'll be like, yeah, like I'll take a bonus and chunk that out. But for me, like the first $30,000 that I saved every single year was going towards a house hack, because that is the most efficient way to invest your money. After that, then I went ahead and paid off my student loans and whatever else there was.
Were you working towards any specific number for your wealth accumulation? A lot of people call this their FI number, but that's based on a lot of times the 4% rule, which is more geared towards stock market investing than real estate investing. So did you have a number you were working towards, or were you just saving up the 30,000 to get to your next house hack?
I was just saving up the 30,000 to get to the next house hack. Originally, I never thought of it as like a net worth number. Where like I never thought of it like in that FI way. I always thought of it as like I needed $5,000 of passive income to become financially free. And so, and that was at the time, right? That was as a single male house hacking living in Denver.
You're looking at a $1.5 million net worth in a stock market scenario, but $5,000 in real estate cash flow, especially based on this one, you spent $17,000 to get $12,000 a year in cash flow. That's not bad. So did you do this 5 times and become financially independent?
Basically, I mean, I did it 3 times and became financially independent. And that's like when I hit my financial independence mark. But, Mindy, you actually had a cool chart that I think it was at Camp 5 back in like 2018, where it showed like, this is what it looks like to invest in index funds and hit 5. This is what it looks like to invest in real estate. And like, I mean, you know, index funds, if you save very aggressively, you can hit 1.5 million. It's like 10 to 15 years probably. In real estate, it's like 3 to 5 years. And I didn't have a $1.5 million net worth at the time. My net worth was probably 200,000 to 300,000 when I became financially free. Like, it wasn't massive, but it was because my houses were just so dang efficient.
I remember that chart. It's essentially, it said you need to save $1 million in order to generate $40,000 in income. That's the very common FI number that everybody talks about. But with that chart, it was you need to purchase $750,000 in real estate using numbers at the time. It's been a minute since I made this chart. But when you purchase $750,000 in real estate, you didn't give somebody $750,000. You leveraged probably 80% of it, maybe more if you're doing owner-occupied loans. Hey, Craig, were you doing owner-occupied loans?
Yeah, you bet.
3% down loans, 3.5% down?
3 to 5% down is what I did not all of my loans, but you know, all of my house hacking loans, of course, have all been 3 to 5% down. And that's the beauty in it right there.
That is the beauty in it right there. I am doing quick math on a calculator just to make sure I'm correct. $750,000 times 5% is $37,500. So you could save and invest and grow your portfolio of stocks and bonds to $1 million, or you can spend $37,500 and buy 3 properties and be financially independent. And of course, this is way oversimplifying it. What Craig did was way back when. Housing prices have appreciated, the interest rates have gone up, but it's still a great investment. And when you were living in the property, renting out, live like no one else now so you can live like no one else later, Craig was living on the couch or the futon and behind the curtain while he was renting out all these other parts and became financially independent with 3 rental properties. That's kind of an okay story.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is I just recognized the scenario that I was in. Like, I knew that once I started dating somebody or whatever, like, I didn't want that. And I was doing this all for, like, I had my future wife in mind and my future family. And that's, like, really what it was. I had no idea what she looked like. I had no idea what her name was. Like, I had no idea who she was. Mindy, now you know who my wife is, and she's amazing. And so I'm glad that I did that for her. But, like, that's what it was. And so, I just had a bigger why, and I was like, I'm going to take advantage of everyone's dealt a specific set of a specific set of cards, and you got to play your hand right. And the hands that I was dealt is that I didn't have a lot of money, but I had a college education. I had the mindset to just like get it done, whatever it took. whatever it took, uh, and yeah, and so I just like did whatever I had to do, and it was just such a short temporary time for a lifetime of gain. Like I'm still reaping the rewards from living behind the couch or living on the couch, and that was 6-7 years ago now.
So what did you do after you became financially free? You have 3 rental properties that are kicking off all this cash, enough so that you don't have to work anymore.
So I got my license and my real estate license, and I was like, really the initial thought was just to do it for me. And so I did, like, my first 2 deals were just my deals. And then my buddy, who you also know, Alex Wald, who used to work at BiggerPockets, was like, hey, I want you to help me buy this house hack. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, worst thing that happens is I go have some fun with Alex Wald. Like, that was a good time. And so we found him a great house. Turns out it was just a few blocks away from mine. And we closed on it, and then I got a $10,000 paycheck. And I was like, whoa, I've never gotten a $10,000 paycheck before. And I was thinking, I was like, well, I could probably help more people do this. And so then I helped another person do it, and then another person. And I'm like, I could get $10,000. I can get multiple of these a month. Like, I'm okay with that. And so then it came to the point where, like, I was closing 2 or 3 deals a month on as a real estate agent on the side while also working at BiggerPockets. And I remember talking to David Green and being like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I probably might need to quit, but I don't know if I'm ready. And I was like, I'm only doing 2 deals a month. And he's like, you would be the top agent on my team if you did 2 deals. I was just like, okay, I'm going to quit. And so on January 31st, 2020, I was my last day. And I say that because you kind of know what happens next.
Whoa, timing is perfect.
Timing was perfect. At the time, I didn't realize it because, like, everyone thought the world was going to end with COVID. And but it turned out that I had, like, every real estate agent had their best year ever in 2020. And so I ended up I remember going on a podcast or like a radio. It was like Cheddar TV. It was like something wicked random. And they asked me how many deals I wanted to do in my first year. And I said 30. And they're like, oh, wow, that's really aggressive for your first year. I was like, well, I'm on pace to do 2 a month while working. I can imagine I can do 1 more a month without working. And I ended up doing like over 100 deals that first year.
What?
In 2020. Yeah.
Wow.
It was insane. And so that is like the big risk that you can take, which financial independence can give you. Because if I wasn't financially independent, I never would have had the confidence to quit, to then go ahead and make, like, I made like over 10 times more than I would have made at BiggerPockets that year. And so, yeah, I mean, it was huge. And then then I bought some more rental properties with that income, and that gave me a little bit more of a boost.
Yeah. And, doing 2 deals a month in the Denver area, you're making $12,000, $15,000 a deal. So 2 deals, let's round that down after all expenses. You're making $10,000 a deal. 2 deals is $20,000 a month. That's a boatload of money. And you're right. Financial freedom, getting money out of the way, figuring out all of your, basic expenses, your basic plus elevated expenses, whatever your fine number is. Once you hit that, then you can go out and take chances.
But yeah, it was all financial independence that allowed me to kind of get to that point. And I think it's just, yeah, amazing.
So are you still working as a real estate agent now?
Yeah. So I'm still an agent now. I still help people in Denver all the time. And so, yeah, like I still really enjoy kind of being involved and helping people achieve their goals of financial independence. And house hacking still works. It still works even in 2024 with the rates high and the prices higher. Now, it doesn't work as well, of course, but it also didn't work as well in 2017 as it did in 2014. It's not going to work as well in 2027 as it's going to work in 2024. And so, sorry, I can't rewind time, but I can definitely help you make sure you get a property that works for you in this area.
So let's look at your current finances. You said you're spending more than ever before. Do you track your expenses?
Kinda, like I'm not as tight of a ship as I used to. Mainly because I just can't look at everything that I'm not in control of all the spending anymore. So I just can't even look at it sometimes. Just make more, Craig. So that's not the best advice. Obviously track it, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. But I know about where I'm at. And so right now we're spending about $15,000 a month. And we've probably got 12 to 13,000 in real estate passive income. And so, this doesn't count like book, doesn't count stocks, doesn't count like some revenue, some other passive sources. I kind of only count the stuff that I feel as though will never stop. Book can stop selling, stocks can go to zero. I don't know. In my head, I'm just like, this is the true thing. And so, like, I had this financial independence. Technically, I'm like, I don't know if I'm financially independent right now. I'm kind of like on the fence, right? If I were to like not work, would I still be able to sustain? But I could definitely like sell my house and go back somewhere, and then I can downgrade my lifestyle and have financial independence. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at.
Well, it sounds like you reached financial independence based on your spending at that time, and you didn't stop working. You're continuing to generate income. Your spending has gone up, but so has your income. Your passive real estate income has gone up to almost what your spending is. And frankly, if you're spending $15,000 a month, there's room to cut. We're not here to do a Finance Friday on you, Craig. So I'm not going to tell you what you should cut. But I also know that if you went into your expenses and all of a sudden, like, real estate agents no longer made any money at all, you'd be fine.
I think we're happy at where we're at, and it's to us too. Like, even if you look at now, right? Like before, my net worth to cash flow was huge. Now my net worth to cash flow is quite small because I've sat on these properties for a long time, and I'm not refinancing them. I'm not pulling cash out. Like, I just want the cash flow, and so like my return on equity right now isn't great. I'm probably not being the most efficient with my portfolio in terms of the cash flow, but I just like I like not being super over leveraged, and I like having, a pretty good amount of equity in my properties. So
I absolutely agree. When somebody says that they bought the house 3% down, lived in it for a year, moved out, and they keep doing this and keep doing this, 2020, March of 2020 was a big shock. And all of a sudden, tenants lost their jobs. They weren't able to pay their rent, but there was a moratorium on evictions. So you've got this set of circumstances outside of your control while also having this huge mortgage payment because you're leveraged to the hilt. I love equity in houses. I love having a comfortable payment that you can make regardless of if your tenants pay their rent or not. And obviously that's not ideal, but COVID isn't ideal. So that was just an example of things that can, outside of your control, things that can happen to your portfolio. I love your mindset about that. Okay, so is investing in real estate the only vehicle that you invest in, or do you have other investment strategies?
I'm going to start like literally July 1st. This is June 27th. I'm going to start socking away, putting some money into the stock market again. And the reason for that is that I had an SBA loan that was kind of eating away at like everything. And so I just paid that off. And now I'm going to take that monthly payment that I was paying towards the SBA loan, instead of like using it to spend it on fun stuff, I'm going to put it into the stock market. And so I'm venturing back in, but right now it's mostly all real estate. I've got some money in like EXP stock, which is the brokerage that I'm with. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's all real estate and some notes and stuff like that. But
okay. Well, and that sounds like a calculated maneuver.
Yeah. I'm in real estate in a few different markets, in a few different, I don't do only one method. Like, I'm not all short-term rental. I'm not all rent by the room, not all long-term. And so I've got like diversification within real estate, but my whole life is real estate. And so I just feel as though like, why not invest in something that's so synergistic to the rest of my life? Like, we help hundreds of people a year invest in real estate in Denver. Why would I not invest in real estate in Denver? Like, I know it. I know I would consider myself an expert at investing in Denver at this point. So why not use that for my own advantage?
I could not agree more. I don't understand all these real estate agents who don't invest in real estate at all are like, you're not using your biggest superpower. So I think it's fantastic that you are continuing to do this. Craig, what advice would you give to someone who is just learning about financial independence? Maybe they've heard of house hacking. Maybe they've heard of real estate investing. Maybe they haven't. What advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out on their journey to financial independence?
Just don't overcomplicate it. It's really easy. It's not easy. It's the concept is very easy, but it's spend less, make more, invest the difference. And don't get and I mean don't make it complicated in that aspect, but also when you are looking at your first house hack, don't look at every single number. I mean, you can look at every single number, but like there's like 4 numbers that I look at. What is the monthly payment? What is the rent? How much do I need for reserves? And what is that bottom number? If that bottom number worked good for you, it's good for a house hack. Let appreciation do its thing. But when you have all of these numbers that you can manipulate and change and all that, then like no deal ever works. And you just end up sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. Because there's no perfect deal. I'm sorry, like you're doing your first deal, you're not going to get the best deal in Denver. I know a lot more people in Denver. Mindy might. She knows a lot more people in Denver, and she's done many deals, and people know that she can close. But you are not going to get the best deal. So go and learn something, go prove yourself, and just like do a dang deal, because you will be much happier.
Do a dang deal from Craig Curelop. I love it. Craig, thank you so much for your time today. It's always so much fun to talk to you. And to our viewers, if you are interested in learning more about Craig, you can find him at BPCon this year. I'll be there too. We are in Cancun, Mexico from October 6th to October 8th. Go to biggerpockets.com/events. Go to biggerpockets.com/events to snag your ticket today. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more inspiring fire videos just like Craig's. This is Mindy Jensen signing off.
Woo!
Woohoo!